Hello everyone, good morning. Welcome. My name is Kittson and I am your MC, and it's a privilege and a pleasure to be your MC for this fantastic event, which is the APNA conference for 2018. Hooray! My job is to provide you with a roadmap for the days ahead so that you won't be found wandering aimlessly around the bars and cake shops of South Bank of Brisbane, no matter how tempting they are. Did you have a good night last night? A lot of you were here for drinks and went to the expo and trade expo. We're going to kick off in the traditional way with a welcome to country, and it is my great pleasure to introduce to the stage to deliver the welcome to country, Songwoman Maroochy. Songwoman Maroochy is a law woman and respected elder of the original inhabitants of Brisbane. She's a direct descendant of the chief of the old Brisbane tribe. She's an amazing person. She was taken from her family when she was 12 and taken to Melbourne, and she's an actress, she's an activist, she has received many awards, and she was just a brilliant person to do the welcome to country. So please give her a very warm welcome to the stage, Songwoman Maroochy.
Yadani, Australia Boo, advance Australia in strength. People of Australia, let us make a good spirit place, for we are from the ancient, we are of the present, and we are the future. In 1993, I actually sang the national anthem at the AFL Grand Final in Melbourne. Everything went bad for me that day. Anyway, about 5 years ago, I was asked to write the national anthem in my language, the Turrbal language of Brisbane, for the All-Stars here. So I've since incorporated the song within my Welcome to Country, just to, because there's this debate, oh, shall we and shall we not sing the anthem? But I believe in the Australian nation, and we are the place we are going to, rather than the place we have come from. So I've chosen to do it. So I'm going to sing it now, and also, I suppose, contributing factors. Besides being Aboriginal, I'm also have convict heritage as well. And yeah, my father's grandfather was African American, came during the gold rush, and free settling Scots, which a lot of them landed out in the Darling Downs. So I'm mixed. My identity is Australian Aboriginal as well as an Aboriginal Australian. They are two different things. The Australian Aborigine is the fact that I come from Cherbourg, and very multi-tribal, big long history in the Queensland history of its administration of Aboriginal people. But I shall now do the welcome to country. Yadani Australian Abayugri Murumbaga da Kolamaiki Berandangaleyu Bigi Numba Iki Tamilin Murumba Bulkairi Yadani Australia Boo Taga Nurunalaiki Yoa Yoa Yadani Australia Balamdiko Kundunumbuler Balamdiko Kundunumbuler Yang Indai Yango Kundai Yango Balamdiko Kundunumbuler Balamdiko Kundunumbuler Bulkairi, Marumba, Mianjanu, that's welcome to Brisbane, in the language of that Turrbal People. The second song there I was singing was the Brisbane River Dreaming song. Just a little bit about the Turrbal people. The Turrbal people were actually documented as being extinct or on the verge of extinction back in the 1860s. That's why my knowledge of that came via a select committee hearing into the activities of the native police. I've read it. The surviving Turrbals today, we're just a small family. So, and saying that we're part of a larger, bigger kinship structure or a society, and that incorporates all the tribes of southeastern Queensland. So I shall now sing the Blessing of the Gathering, which is part of that tradition when doing a Welcome to Country. Thanks for having us here this morning, and I hope you have a good, wonderful conference. Garinninanami chuchumobironu Garinninanami Garinninanami chuchumobironu Garinninanami chuchumobironu.
Thank you. Wow, what a fantastic welcome to country. That was really moving and very beautiful, and to see Songwoman Maroochy in that incredible cape, that it sort of fits in with our superhero theme, I think, that we're going to have as part of this conference. That was really beautiful. I too would like to acknowledge the traditional custodians of the land upon which this event is being held, and pay my respects to their elders past, present and future, and extend that respect to any other Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islanders who are in the room with us today. Look, I'm so happy to be your MC for the conference. When I think of primary healthcare nurses, I think of nurses in the community, helping the community, protecting the community, keeping a professional eye on the health of the community, fighting for the health of the community with kindness and skill and long hours and superhuman patience. Nurses who are in the front line of our healthcare throughout our lives, which is why I really love your theme, Nurseforce, for the future. Nurseforce. It's great. Other forces may change their letterheads to something more passive or meek, so as not to seem intimidating, but not Nurseforce. We no longer have armed forces or police forces, but we now have nurse forces. I love this because you are a force for good. It's not a force as in, it's not an overbearing force. It is, as I said, a force for good and a force to be reckoned with. This is a force that, is expression of a concentration of professionalism and compassion and focus, energetically directed to where it is most needed. And Nurseforce to me sounds really good and true. And everyone at many times in our lives will need a primary healthcare nurse. And we do all through our lives, from when we are babies to when our parents are elderly. And we may need them several times, and we may need them urgently, and we will not want to have to apply in writing and wait on a decision of a dawdling committee. We would like to be able to reach for the phone and say, "Nurseforce, please," and speak to someone who cares. I can't wait to see the ad for Nurseforce. I think you should have an ad. I see nurses in uniform striding down corridors or whipping back curtains or knocking on doors with a very tiny little injection saying, "This won't hurt much." You need to be a force because you are in the front line of healthcare. And it can certainly be a battlefield. You not only have to deal with the cantankerous, the resistant, the paranoid, the fearful, the hypochondria, the know-all, and the plain flaky community, just to mention my extended family, but also the management, the systems, the bureaucracy, the government, and Dr. Google. You need to be highly organised, highly skilled, highly weaponised force in a nice way. And that's why you're here at this conference. This conference will help you with all of that. It'll help you arm yourselves with important information, strategies, battle plans, and support troops. I was trying to think of the first time I ever remember dealing with a primary care nurse. Like, I was thinking, when was the first time? And I remember it was when I was a teenager, and this is back in the 70s. And, anyway, I got thrush, right? And I didn't know really what it was or anything or where it came from. And we had there was no safe sex. Oh, yuck. And, but fun. But, and there was we had no information about our gynae bits at all. But anyway, someone said to me, when you have thrush, you just put yogurt and garlic into your vagina. So I went, okay, that sounds easy. So I put some yogurt and garlic into my vagina. And then the next day when I went to take it out, I couldn't find it. And I completely freaked out. And so I had to go to the doctor, and in those days you hardly went to the doctor, not like me as a mother now, we're at the doctor, like we just have an automatic appointment once a week. But so I went to the doctor and I told him my problem, and he left the room and he came back with a nurse. Yes, because, and then we had to lie down and the nurse had to look. I don't know why he needed a nurse, but that was and I thought, I didn't even know there were nurses in clinics. That was the first time, and I thought, that poor nurse having to be called in to find my garlic. I always wondered whether he thought I was fibbing and I just wanted him to have a look or something, It's always felt a bit weird to me why you would call a nurse for that situation, but there you are. Anyway, they couldn't find it because apparently my body had absorbed it, so I don't think they looked very hard, really. So anyway, I'll share more stories with you till you're going, don't want to hear any more. Anyway, I think you are all awesome, and I've got elderly parents, and we're always in the care of nurses now, and they are my go-to support for my parents, and they've changed our lives, the community nurses who come and help us. So you're just awesome, and on behalf of the Australian community, I want to say how grateful we are, not only for your help and care, but because you are constantly in search of ways to improve this care. The effort a society puts into the health of others, the commitment to improving the lives of others, the time we put into improving the treatment and understanding of the health of our community, the level of care we have for others, care in all its forms, physical and mental and spiritual and emotional, is a measure of a community's humanity. I mean, the value of our lives is a direct reflection of how much we value the lives of others and how much we wish to alleviate each other's suffering. And looking at the program for the conference ahead, there seems to be no avenue left unexplored to find better ways of helping people and treating people and improving your skills and knowledge and the accessibility of healthcare. So thank you so much for coming along. On behalf of the Australian community, thank you for coming along and being part of this conference. And thank you for your skill and commitment and for employing smaller needles and a better way of ripping off Band-Aids. And when you find a way for a woman to catch a midstream sample in a tiny jar without peeing on her hand, I will be most grateful. It's going to be a great conference. I've got a little housekeeping, so let's get on with it. The exits are located there. I knew there was something I forgot to ask. And the bathrooms are located there too. Please don't confuse the two. It is unhealthy to use the exit as a bathroom and unsafe to use the bathroom as an exit. If you want to know where an exit is, just ask a smoker. They would have sussed them out already. Please turn your mobile phones to silent and only answer them if it is Lotto asking where to send the cheque. Good luck. Actually, we really want a full immersion in social media. So if you'd like to tweet or anything like this, the handle is hashtag Nurseforce at APNA nurses. So hashtag Nurseforce at APNA nurses. So anything interesting that you want to, or even not interesting, you know what Twitter's like, but anything you want to tweet, it's a really great way to spread the word about what is happening at this fantastic conference. I'd particularly like to welcome those of you from rural, remote, from the bush. Who's from rural and remote Australia here? Welcome. Welcome for coming all that way. I think this sort of mingling between the country folk and city folk is really, really important. You know, those who are from rural and remote Australia and the vast money-sucking city-states should get together, and because most city folk, you know, have no idea about the bush, the Australian bush. We don't. There was research recently that said over 70% of Australian people who live in the city have never been outside the city limits. 70% now. City folk don't know anything. Oh, well, we do. We know a lot, actually. We know the value of waterfront real estate to the last square centimetre. We can name 50 foreign cheeses. But ask us about anything outside the city limits and we don't have a clue. We think a crop is a $100 haircut. We think crutching is what you get when you jog in Lycra. We think a Frisian is someone from Frisia. We think stock is something you ski with. We think a pizzle is a light rain. We think Massey Ferguson is the Duchess of York. So really, a really warm welcome. Thank you for coming all that way. Thank you for coming, and please, you know, really get to know each other over this conference. Finally, before I introduce our first special speaker, I'd like to thank our sponsors, without whom this conference would not be possible. Well, it would be possible, but there'd be a lot less to drink. So we've got our platinum sponsors, Securus. They are a huge support. Please give them a round of applause. We have our gold partners, GSK, Reframe Osteoporosis, the Australian Digital Health Agency. Thank them too, our God. And our silver partner, Novartis. We'll be speaking more about our sponsors, but thank you to our beloved sponsors. Thank you. And now, ladies and gentlemen, to officially open the conference and to warmly and formally embrace you all, please, I'd like to introduce to you, well, a woman who really doesn't need any introduction. She is the President, Karen Booth. She has enormous experience and expertise. She's worked in every area of primary healthcare and with a particular passion for preventative health. There is not an advisory group or a committee that she hasn't challenged or a round table that she hasn't thumped on behalf of primary healthcare nurses. And she is the president of APNA. Please welcome Karen Booth.
Just move it down to the short person level. Good morning, everyone. On behalf of APNA, we wish to acknowledge and pay our respects to Elders past and present, the traditional owners of the land, and pay our respects past and present. I'd also like to thank Songwoman and Lawwoman Maroochy of the Turrbal people for her warm welcome to this beautiful part of her country today. Mostly I'd like to say good morning. This is our 10th National Conference. I'd like to extend a warm welcome to our dignitaries, which is code for special people. And I would like to extend a warm welcome to, we're pleased to have two great national nursing leaders with us here today. We have Rosemary Bryant, who is the APNA patron and the first Commonwealth Chief Nurse and Midwifery Officer. And we'd also like to welcome Deb Thoms, who is our current Commonwealth Chief Nurse and Midwifery Officer. And we're delighted to have Deb here with us today in Brisbane, especially given that this is budget week and it's a really, really busy week for key ministerial advisors such as Deb. So thank you for being here. The Minister for Health, the Honourable Greg Hunt, cannot be here with us today, but he has sent a video message that will play after I finish chatting with you. The APNA executive and myself have met with Mr Hunt and his team several times, and he is well aware of the type of work that primary healthcare nurses do and much appreciative of our efforts. We at APNA appreciate the Minister for showing his support for primary healthcare nurses in the budget announcement this week. And I think another key thing that we need to recognise is that APNA has been recognised and funded over a number of years by successive governments. So we're not just, it's not just a one-off recognition, that there's recognition across the board in the political parties that we are doing a good job. There are a number of dignitaries from the Commonwealth departments here sharing the vibrance and enthusiasm of the APNA conference, so welcome to you. There's also a big PHN contingent, and this is our third year of PHN workshops, and again, a full sellout for that workshop. So put your hand up, PHN people. Yay, welcome, and fantastic workshop yesterday. These people are a group of influencers and implementers, and they are here because they want to know more about what you do. They want to know more about you, and they also, more importantly, want to know how they can help you do what you do. The biggest and warmest welcome, of course, is to our members. We have our regular conference goers. Put your hands up. Been here before? And then we have a large number of first-timers. So first-timers, gold stars, put your hands up. Welcome, and we know this won't be your last APNA conference. We also have the contingent of rural and remote nurses, and I know Jean's already got you to give us a wave, but we have nurses from tip to tip, so from the bottom of Tasmania right up to Christmas Island. We welcome you, and again, we hope to see you over many conferences and look forward to meeting you over the next few days. Pardon me. And I think, and importantly, a welcome to all, because we know that you've given up so much to be here this week. There's the ongoing heats of the Eurovision finals that you have foregone. And if you didn't catch the news, Jessica Malboy is through to the final. But we promise to have you home warm and safe, ready for Mother's Day and the Eurovision final on Sunday night. So the theme for this year's APNA conference came from some brainstorming, reflecting some of the enormous growth and change for our organisation over the past couple of years, and that alongside significant developments in the roles of primary healthcare nursing. And when we were thinking, we progressed from moving forward, and then we thought pushing through, but really we are powering along. We are a force to be reckoned with. And then I thought about force and, back to my old high school maths. And in physics, a force is any interaction that, when unopposed, will change the motion of an object. Force can cause an object to change its velocity, to accelerate. Force has both magnitude and direction, making it a vector quantity. And in fact, an Euclidean vector is a geometric object that has magnitude and direction. And for me, looking down from the stage after all this talk about force and geometry, I think you all look great as the Euclidean vectors that can change the trajectory and have the mass and the momentum to influence healthcare in this country. Force is measured in SI units of newtons, but I think what we have here is force measured in APNA nurse energy units, and at some point in time the team and I will put that together and send it off for the Nobel Peace Prize. You are the nurse force of the future, with the mass and the magnitude and the ability to change the pace and direction of healthcare and reform in this country. Change can be exciting, but can also be a bit scary, and as we step up and out of our comfort zones. And we need to learn skills to help build our personal careers, but also that professional group momentum. And if anything is going to change, really change, particularly in healthcare, you will be the people that will drive that. We are delighted to have a number of both international and homegrown speakers. And this year's program, again, is here to help you build your knowledge mass and help you gain momentum. A quick few stats are what's going to happen over the next couple of days. We've got more than 120 speakers. We've got 20 hours of CPD across 44 sessions, interactive formats, some workshops, some small groups, some panels, some keynotes, lots of abstracts. We've got about 30 posters, and there's about 550 of you here. So I expect the complete speed dating circuit will be done out hopefully by Sunday. Primary healthcare nursing is one of the fastest growing areas of nursing in Australia. And here you are with mass, the momentum to influence, the power and the energy. You are the nurse force of the future. We look forward to sharing with you and hearing from you over the next couple of days. And I can practice this. May the force be with you. Before I leave the stage, I would like to welcome Helen Storer, who a newly elected board member. Helen, where are you? Ah, there she's up there. So welcome to Helen from Western Australia. And I would like to also introduce Darren Carr, who is the new APNA CEO. He'll just come onto the stage and say hello.
Hello. For those who've seen Book of Mormon, it's very tempting to start singing now. Hello. I am thrilled to be here. Very quickly, Karen did use the word keep it short. Look, my background, I was an allied health professional. It's not in nursing, but I was married to a nurse for 25 years. But I was an allied health professional. I was a radiation therapist. I've been CEO of various different health organisations for a number of years, 10 years in a division of general practice. It's been great to reconnect with people in the primary health network who I know from division of general practice days. 5 years in Tasmania at the Cancer Council and Mental Health Council, and for the past 3 years in Wagga in New South Wales as CEO of an Aboriginal medical service. Today is day 4, so it's days of shaking hands, smiling nicely and forgetting names. Thank goodness there's big print on the name tags. I'm thrilled to be at APNA and day 4, learned a little bit already. Primary healthcare nurses are undervalued, underutilised and underpaid. Yep. I can't change that, but there's good news. Together we can. So I really look forward to working in partnership with all of you, with all of the members, to raise the profile and recognition of primary healthcare nurses, and to see primary healthcare nurses supported, equipped and empowered to work to their full scope of practice in coming years. So.
Now, we'll now show the video message from the Health Minister, Greg Hunt, and I'll step down from the stage while the Minister gives his message. Thank you.
Well, welcome everybody to today's Australian Primary Healthcare Nurses Association conference. I'm thrilled to be able to talk with you and apologetic that I can't be with you in person. But it's been budget week and it's been a very, very good week for health and for nursing in particular. I want to start by acknowledging and thanking all of our nurses, particularly our primary healthcare nurses. As I think some of you will know, my mother was a nurse and my wife is a nurse, and so nursing has a very strong role in my family, and I recognise just how fundamentally important your work is. Over 300,000 nurses all up in Australia, and whether it's in our hospitals, whether it's in our aged care facilities, or in particular within the primary healthcare setting, your work is not just vital, it is absolutely indispensable. It's the backbone of quality care, patient care within Australia. So against that background, there are a number of things to be aware of. Importantly, obviously, when you look at the overall health system, what you see is that the funding's going up significantly from 99 to 102 billion to 104 billion to 109 billion, and Medicare goes up every year from 25 to 26 to 27 to 29 billion. But it's not the funding. It's something much more significant. It's a recognition that we need to have stronger programs for nursing within the community as we go forward, so that primary healthcare functions. So there are really three big things that we're doing on that front. Firstly, one area that many of you have talked to me about is the need for mental health support through nursing for our seniors. All up, there are two programs here for mental health support for our seniors that affect you and give you a greater role going forwards directly. One is $82.5 million for assistance for mental health, with a big focus in particular on mental health nurses for seniors in residential care. It can be a very hard time of life, and that extra support will help make better outcomes for so many seniors and give greater opportunities to primary healthcare nurses around the country. There's also an additional $20 million for mental health support to be designed in conjunction with mental health nurses for seniors within the community outside of residential care. Loneliness, isolation, anxiety, depression, these conditions are profound, and our nursing community will be the front line in many ways for delivering that program. Then we have workforce incentives, in particular for primary care nurses going forward. So that primary care role is about working with the nursing community. We're creating a single workforce incentive program for rural, regional and remote Australia. That will provide incentives for over 5,000 practices to be supporting and hiring more primary healthcare nurses where we need them, where they'll be in a multidisciplinary setting, and that's support for the nurses, support for the doctors, and above all else, support for the patients. So it's part of the largest, stronger rural health strategy in decades, and this is a refocusing on having more medical professionals into rural health, and in particular, more primary care nurses into primary care in rural Australia. Then we have support for the nursing professional profession in general. And that's additional funding for emphasising the role of practice nurses and their role all up, and I think that's very important, and the ability to give Australian nurses greater opportunities through mutual recognition for overseas work. And so that's about bringing young people into nursing and giving those within the nursing profession greater career and life opportunities to work overseas to bring that experience back to Australia. So I want to thank you for everything you do. It's immensely important to me personally, but to the nation more generally. And I hope through this budget we've been able to emphasise the support for nursing to create the opportunities for yourselves and the ability to deliver better outcomes for patients across Australia.
That sounds marvellous. You know, just hearing it, it sounds like there's a lot of support for you. I hope that actually translates into, you know, real help, real support, real money, and I really hope it does. We like to have our ministers on tape, then we can control them. And so thank you to the Honourable Greg Hunt for sending the video in. And thank you very much to Karen for, I love the idea of an Euclidean vector. It sounds, in Nurseforce, it sounds like a superhero. This is Euclidean and this is vector. This is magnitude and this is direction. I love all that. That's really great. Really great. Thank you. And now I'd like to invite to the stage our next esteemed speaker. She's the Commonwealth Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer and Adjunct Professor Debra Thoms. I'd just like to tell you a little bit about her. She is responsible for providing high-level advice on nursing and midwifery issues. She also participates in the formulation and implementation of policy and strategic direction in relation to healthcare in Australia. She has broad health management and clinical experience, including as a clinician in remote and rural Australia, as CEO of Rural Area Health Service, General Manager of the Royal Hospital for Women in Sydney, and as Chief Nursing and Midwifery Officer within the health departments of South Australia and New South Wales. Her contribution to nursing and healthcare has been recognised by an outstanding alumni award from the University of Technology, Sydney, and she also holds appointments as an adjunct professor with the University of Technology, Sydney, and the University of Sydney. Please welcome Deb Thoms.
Thanks, Jean, for that introduction, and thank you, Karen, for inviting me here today. It only took us 3 goes, but we finally did it. Before I begin, I too would like to respectfully acknowledge the traditional owners of the land on whom we're meeting today, their elders past, present and future, and also to acknowledge any Aboriginal or Torres Strait Islander people here with us today. I would like to acknowledge President of APNA, Karen Booth, and of course my colleague, Rosemary Bryant, who I can just see over the edge, and APNA board members, and of course all of you that have come here for these next couple of days of what should be a really interesting and challenging program. As Minister Hunt indicated, this is a busy week at the Commonwealth. We have had the budget announced, and as you heard from the Minister, this year's announcements include several initiatives that feature in the primary healthcare space and work to further develop workforce sustainability and capability in areas of need. As you all know, the increasing prevalence of chronic disease and complex needs of an ageing population requires an increasingly team-based and multidisciplinary approach to care delivery. These initiatives will also support the integral role nurses play at the forefront of the delivery of quality healthcare, and the work that APNA has already done on nurse-led clinics demonstrates this clearly. To recap on some of the initiatives that the Minister referred to in perhaps a little bit more detail, the Government will this year continue to provide funding to support the Nursing in Primary Healthcare program and Enhanced Nurse Clinics program. The early indications from the first tranche of these clinics has been very positive, and it is great to see the funding continued. APNA is to be congratulated for their leadership and work in this space. Funding will also be provided for the Australian College of Nurse Practitioners to develop and implement a communication strategy to increase community awareness of the benefits of nurse practitioners in primary healthcare service delivery. Within the profession, we are pretty clear about the contribution that nurse practitioners can make, but we need to get that understanding further out into the broader community. This communication strategy, to be implemented by the ACNP, will hopefully assist the broader general public to better understand the role of nurse practitioners and their potential value add to the health system. The government will also fund an independent review of nursing education that will provide insight into how we may best prepare our nurses for the future. There has been continuing commentary on a range of issues around nursing preparation, including what is or is not or should be or should not be within existing programs, clinical learning and how that happens, the low percentage of men within the profession, and the issue of international equivalency. Currently, Australian nurses do not always find it easy to register overseas. The review will also examine national and international trends. It will consult extensively with the health, aged care, education and regulatory sectors, and with consumers to examine how we are best preparing our profession and the career paths that nurses can take. It will have a future focus, so it's not just about the here and now, but how nurses need to continue to evolve to meet the current and emerging healthcare delivery challenges in Australia. This week, of course, we also celebrate the contribution that nurses and midwives make to healthcare through the International Day of Midwife and International Nurses Day. I hope you all found or find some time to celebrate. I spent yesterday at Princess Alexandra Hospital here in Brisbane, which of course is our first magnet accredited hospital in this country, and they're about to go through a re-accreditation soon. They have a very entertaining week, and I was privileged to attend the Florence Nightingale lamp competition, which was good fun. But I think it's always good at these times to take a few moments to reflect on what has been achieved, as it is easy to lose sight of the positive changes in among the constant demands of daily work and life. Events such as these remind us of the great work being done every day by nurses. The theme for this conference is Nurseforce for the Future, and nurses can play a significant role in bringing about change for both individuals and systems. The work you do within the primary healthcare context provides you with many opportunities to support people in achieving change that will improve their health. One such opportunity is highlighted by the role nurses in primary healthcare play in supporting women's health, including cervical screening. I know there is a presentation on your program about changes to the National Cervical Screening Program tomorrow. Your role in this varies from the collection of the sample for testing to ensuring women's participation in screening through the maintenance of recall and reminder systems. Nurses can also play a significant role in helping patients overcome barriers to accessing such services through your close interactions with patients and health promotion activities, which can be particularly important for vulnerable populations, including those from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. It reminds me of many years ago when I was working in Taree, and the women's health nurse there undertook a major it was a fairly major project, and people sort of thought, why is she doing that? But what she did was she enabled a number of women who lived quite some distance from the town, no public transport, to get their driver's licence. Because getting their driver's licence meant they could then access healthcare easily, plus a range of other opportunities. And I think sometimes it's that innovative, slightly lateral thinking that nurses can engage in that really enables changes to be achieved within healthcare. By furthering knowledge and expertise, nurses in areas such as these can maximise your contribution to health promotion and the prevention of life-threatening disease. So in many ways, nurses are very much a force for change as a significant part of the health workforce across a range of settings. By working together and having a clear view of what can be achieved, the profession can also make a significant contribution to ensuring that the health system is meeting the needs of the community in the years to come. And I think it should be a nomination for a Nobel Prize for Physics not peace. Because, physics would be pretty good. I'm sure you will hear at this conference some good examples of the work that is being done, but also gather ideas that you may be able to implement in your own workplace. And as always, take advantage of the opportunity to relax and have fun with like-minded colleagues. Have a great conference. Thank you.